Tens of thousands of mostly young men across India are protesting a new military recruitment plan called Agnipath. It establishes a 4-year employment term after which just 25% of soldiers would be retained. That effectively reduces the chances for many people of a multi-decade military career with a nice pension. Protests have turned violent, with many gathering at transit points and setting rail coaches on fire. The government has said the reforms are necessary in order to modernize the military. More than half the defense budget currently goes to salaries and benefits. With 1.4 million members, the military is one of the country's largest employers. Joining us is Ajay Shukla. He's a journalist and a retired colonel of the Indian Army. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, good idea or bad idea? What do you think about this new hiring and retention plan?
Well, it's like this. Of the Indian Army, which have bloated way beyond what would be rationally possible to sustain, have to be controlled somehow. And this is a scheme that is directed squarely at controlling personnel costs. Currently, the Indian Army spends from its budget about 75% on personnel costs, which includes salaries and pensions. And that leaves just 10 to 15% for equipment, for modernization, for weaponry. The Navy and the Air Force are somewhat better. They spend 25 to 30% on personnel costs, so they have more left for weapons and equipment. But the bottom line is manpower costs have to be cut, and this scheme is directed towards doing that. It's also directed towards making a more youthful, younger profile for the Indian Army. It hopes to lower the average age from 32 years to about 26 years. And so what you will be left with at the end of the sort of recruitment plan that's been bought is a sort of stiff central core of people who have served longer and more youthful soldiers who come and go for 4 years at a time. It also results in reserves being there for emergencies, and you have more people going out at a younger age into the civilian world.
What needs modernizing in the Indian military that this is necessary?
Well, it's a military that has an equipment profile of former Soviet Union weaponry and Russian weaponry. There is very little indigenous weaponry that is built in India. So to that extent, it's sort of oriented towards an Eastern Bloc equipment profile. Now, the personnel costs we've already talked about are too high, and there's less money left for buying weaponry. So that means that the sort of weaponry profile is generally obsolescent. You have a situation where you need more modern weaponry, and somehow you've got to find the money in the budgeting process.
How would you rate India's military compared to others in the region? I imagine the concerns are China. I look at Pakistan. Is that what the government is looking at when they are looking at changing the budget around?
Yes, absolutely. It's a two-front situation. We've got to face the Chinese on the north and the Pakistanis on the west. The two of them generally act in sort of consonance with each other. So you've got a two-front profile from the external viewpoint, and you have a half-front profile, as the strategic planners like to call it, from the insurgency in Kashmir. So the Indian Army, with about 1.4, 1.5 million soldiers, sailors and airmen, have to deal with this two-front situation. it's also got, apart from a 15,000-kilometer land border with these two countries, it's got a 7,500-kilometer maritime border with the Indian Ocean as well. So you've got to have a strong navy. The Indian Navy styles itself as the gatekeepers to the Indian Ocean. They control and sort of exercise order in the international shipping lanes to the south, which carry practically 85% of the world's trade to and from China. So all in all, it's a very heavily tasked military. It's got its job cut out for it, and it's trying to make the best use of what are generally limited resources. India is a poor country.
Ajay Shukla, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.